This is Revit for Interior Designers, Week 1, summer of 2019. I want to thank everyone for joining the webinar. Just quickly to recap, on the interface there's a chat bubble. If you have any questions during class, feel free to use the chat bubble to send me a message. It should pop up on my screen and I'll be able to answer that question during class. If you get disconnected from the video screen or my voice, simply log out and log back in. Also, unless you're speaking into your speaker, into your microphone, please turn it off because I can hear your background noise. I'm not sure who that is, but I can hear everything in your background. And it causes interference during the presentation. So
you will not be placed into the
please turn off that speaker when you have a second. So I've provided everyone with a PDF file here. This is the first class, week 1. It has bullet points of all the information we'll be covering today, most of the interface and some preliminary information about the software. So we're going to walk through this PDF file one item at a time. Again, it's uploaded to the Google Docs folder I share with everyone. If you do not have the Google Docs folder, please send me an email at jrmanfredi@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to send you a link to make sure you can access that folder and the course files that are located here in Google Docs under Revit for ID class of summer 2019, week 1. Every week has PDFs in the first folder, and any kind of digital files like AutoCAD or Revit files, I'll stick them in the support folder. And so feel free to download anything that's up there week by week, and feel free to follow along at home if you want to recreate this project on your own. So this is the Revit interface. Typically they have shortcuts here that launches projects. Those shortcuts only work for folks that are using Revit, and Revit is not what they call work shared, which means you're not in an office environment where multiple people can work on the same project. If you are in that situation, do not ever use these buttons because you will affect how the product is organized and managed in your office. The best way to launch Revit is always to use the open button here on the dashboard. Projects open. So I'm going to open the sample project to give you a little tour of the software. I'm going to go open, and here's my support folder. I'm going to open up the file I uploaded called Summer of 19. Open, and Revit launches that project file. So give that a second. So again, we're using Revit 2019. I give you an Autodesk website that has a free download of Revit. It'll give you a 3-year license to the software. And it's totally free, and it's the full-blown version of Revit. So feel free to download it if you like. This is 2019, so there's a few things here that are different than 2018. Namely, there's tabs here that you might see on the interface, and I will walk you through that as well. So I'm going to give you a little tour of the interface first before we get into building anything, so that if I describe an area of the dashboard, you'll understand what it is I'm describing, what it is I'm discussing at that time. So first of all, at the very, very top, you got a bunch of icons here. These are all shortcuts. So some of these are fairly straightforward, but if you hover over any of these icons, and I'm assuming you all can see the icons. If you can't, let me know. But at the very upper left, there's the open folder, there's a save folder, print. Some of these commands are activated depending on what you're looking at on the screen. These are all shortcuts, and as I work in Revit, I'll mention these from time to time. So those are the shortcuts here. And the interface is based on a ribbon, so it's very much like Microsoft products. There are a series of icons across the screen here. So this is the ribbon, and every ribbon is broken down into panels. So for example, on the ribbon, this is the build panel right here. It says build. These icons here are the build panel. circulation panel, model panel. So I'm describing a ribbon, and I'm talking about panels. I'm talking about these areas in particular on the ribbon. And the ribbon changes by basically using different tabs. So for example, we're in Architecture tab. There is a Structures tab. There is a Insert tab. We'll walk through each of these in a second. But before we do that, I wanted to set up your computers at home to mimic mine. And so there are some options that you can set up in Revit so that our screens look the same. So to do that, under File, there's a button here called Options. If you click on Options, it's a way of manipulating Revit's interface. And so under Options, there's a place here called User Interface. And on this menu here, you can turn off things like mechanical tools. You can turn off things like energy analysis. We'll leave mapping and site for now. I'll leave structures on for now. I'll leave architecture on for now. If you turn on those items here, they'll determine what tabs you see across the top of the screen. I'm only using these four. Those two up there. I'm sorry, these three. Mapping and site, architecture, and structure. Further down is a place called Templates. Let's see. Here's graphics. Here's hardware. Here's file locations. Under file locations, I've got architecture at the top of the list. So what that does is when you start Revit will look and feel a certain way depending on who it is that's using the software. It's used by architects, used by interior designers, structural engineers, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, consultants. So each one of these templates determines what Revit looks like when you launch the software. We're using an architectural template in class. So on this list, if you don't have it already, you can click on Architecture Template and move it to the top of the list using these arrows. So I've got architecture listed first, then construction, structural, mechanical. Not that I'll be using those, but I always put architecture at the top. That basically modifies your interface. So that's pretty quick. I've got a YouTube video that describes that as well. I'm going to hit OK. Another quick tip I want to mention is that when you're saving projects, Revit calls their projects, their files, projects. You go to File, Save As, and you're saving projects. That's an RVT file, as opposed to AutoCAD, which is a DWG file. So when you go to Projects and you save your project, here, what you might want to do is go to Options. And under Options here, it'll tell you how many backup files Revit gives you. It'll start making copies of your projects with numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And each of those are just simply backup. So in case your Revit project fails, you can use one of those previous numbers to bring back old copies of your file. So I typically minimize this to 3. You can use 3. I think it defaults to 10. So typically, I make only 3 backups, if any. Maybe 1 backup if you like. And you'll see them up here in your folder as you start saving. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm just going to cancel out of this to show you what the options do. Okay, that's that. All right, so as far as Revit's concerned, everything's organized architecturally. So all the icons here are based on rules that you typically expect to use when you're building a building. An actual physical structure. So rather than AutoCAD where you're drawing lines and circles and things, AutoCAD is building walls and windows and doors. So they have some 2D drafting tools, not many, but most of the work you do in Revit is actually building a 3D file. Although you might be looking at a 2D drawing on the screen, you're always creating a 3D file. So don't let Revit fool you. You're always working in 3D at all times. So if you look across the top of the screen, these tabs here dictate what type of command you're going to use during your 3D modeling. So architecture is building a 3D model of a building. So all these tabs here deal something to do with buildings. Insert is if you want to bring in a file from the outside. You want to bring in an AutoCAD file, for example, and trace it in Revit. Very easy task. Insert is where you do that. You can insert other Revit files. In AutoCAD, they call that X-referencing. Revit calls it linking. There's linking AutoCAD files into Revit as well. We'll be doing that as well. There's other files you can link into Revit. There's also importing files. The only difference between import and link is import means copy and paste, which is something you do not want to do with AutoCAD files. Typically, you want to link AutoCAD files. Do not import AutoCAD files. It brings in a lot of unnecessary garbage from AutoCAD that will just simply clutter your Revit experience and interface. So I would avoid using importing AutoCAD files unless you know exactly what you're doing and how to clean up the mess that you're leaving behind. Annotate tab is for notes and dimensioning and tagging. So all that information is located there. Mapping the site, build site plans. I'm not really going to use that, I believe. I'm sorry, somebody has their speaker turned on. Could you guys turn off the microphone on your computers? Because I'm getting feedback on my end, whoever that is. View is a way of controlling what you see on the screen. The view is basically anything you see here on the dashboard. Anything you see here on the screen is called a view. So this tab controls the view. Manage are some basic product settings that you can manipulate for Revit. We can get into those later. And this is modify, when you want to change something you built. So those are located here. These two panels here, this one here, and the one below are probably the two most important panels in Revit. This is the properties panel. It gives you data on every single thing you build in Revit, or it gives you information of what's on the screen in Revit. The one below gives you a tour of what you're creating in Revit. Any drawing you see on the screen, floor plans, ceiling plans, building sections, anything and everything you see on Revit is here at the bottom of the screen. Oh, sorry, something's happening. What's happening? Somebody flipped the screen on me. Sorry, let me undo that. How do I do that? Reclaim presenter mode? Sorry about that. I'm not sure what that is. Okay. So these two are also really, really important. If you happen to close these by mistake, either this button or this button, by mistake, you go to View, you go to the far right called User Interface, and you make sure you bring back these two immediately, because you won't be able to do much work in Revit without Project Browser or Properties turned off. So make sure those checkboxes are always turned on. At the bottom of the screen, okay. Hello? I've got two messages. Can't see my screen? All right, hang on one second. I'm going to click here. I'm going to hit share. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay, great. And again, somebody out there has their microphones turned on. Can you turn off your microphone? Because I can hear you on your end. I'm not sure who that is. I might have to just, I wonder if I can do it on my end. I'm not sure. Let me see if I can turn off people. Give me 1 second. I've got to on-mic certain people that are interfering with the presentation. Let's see, mute. Can I mute this person? Can I mute this person? Okay, I think the noise went away. Or not. Sorry about that. I've got to hopefully deal with this in 1 second here. So unmute. Hopefully that'll take care of the problem I was experiencing. Okay. All right, so back to Revit. The bottom of the screen has also some shortcuts here. The very, very bottom of the screen, bottom left. These control certain aspects of the software as well. We'll be going through these as well as we tour the interface, but the first one deals with scale of the drawing. Scale as in terms of what scale will it print at. This controls information you display on the screen in terms of detail level. And there's some presentation tools here that are very similar to AutoCAD and SketchUp that control the look of the displayed model, whether it's transparent, wireframe, in color, hidden line, what have you. So we'll go over these as well. Don't feel like we have to learn it all today or right at this sitting. The bottom right, there's a few other commands here in the bottom right of the screen that we'll go over from time to time. So I intend to show you those as we come across those commands. I try not to tour the entire interface all at once because that'll take too much time and distracts from the learning experience. The speaker is back. Hang on a second. Somebody's microphone turned on. I can't tell who that is because I don't see any microphones turned on. What is this? I am not entirely sure where that noise is coming from. Okay, so back here. So this is the project we're going to build. For a project in 3D, you can use your mouse wheel to zoom in and out. You can hold your mouse wheel and push it down and pan left to right. And when you're using the 3D view and you're looking at your 3D model, you can also hold down the Shift key and the mouse wheel, and it lets you rotate around the model. You use the tool for a 3D model while we're working in Revit. So these are just simply some shortcuts I want to share with you. If you want to take a look at the sample project file I've sent you, so Shift, mouse wheel, and in the upper left, or I'm sorry, upper right, you'll see a little view cube here. It tells you you're in a 3D view, and clicking on any one of these areas of the view cube will launch the drawing from that orientation. So this is the top, this is the corner of the top, the opposite corner. This is home in case you're lost. You can always hit home, and it brings it back to normal. So if you want to use that, feel free. I typically use mouse wheel and Shift to look at my models. So that's the quick sort of tour of the interface. If you're looking at the screen, then feel free to use this wheel here. If you click and hold on it to spin the model, I'm holding down my mouse button. Feel free to use any button here. But again, we're in a 3D view. And if you look at the project browser, whatever drawing you're in currently is always bold. You see here 3D here is bold under the 3D views folder. So because that's bold, I'm in that view. And also here, it says it's a 3D view. So this tab represents the view of the drawing I'm looking at currently. And because I'm in 3D, it shows a little tab for it here. If this is the only tab that's open and I hit close, this will close your project. If you've done any work, it'll ask you to save your project. If you haven't done any changes, it'll simply close the project and it'll go back to the dashboard where we began this exercise. So I've given you some YouTube tutorials to go over that, those interface commands and what have you. So feel free to take a look at some of those videos as we go through the exercise in class. My computer is slowing down. There, I'm back to normal. So I'm going to launch Revit again. I closed that tab. I'm going to launch Revit a second time. This time I'm going to launch a brand new project from scratch. So rather than looking at my little drawing, I'm going to launch a project from scratch. And let me see if I got any chat bubbles. Okay. And let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to send me a chat if you have any questions that you want to discuss. But I'm going to launch Revit from scratch to show you what it looks like when you start a project. I'm hitting new. And here's the template I mentioned earlier. This is the architecture template. So this drawing will look like an architect or interior designer set of drawings, as opposed to a structural engineer's set of drawings. So although you have different versions of templates, we always want to use architectural template if you're doing an interior project or architectural project of some sort. And I'm going to hit OK. And that's simply how you launch a Revit project. You can also just simply click Architecture Template here, and that'll launch it right away as well. I'm going to launch that. Brand new project for the first time. We're just going to take a look at what it gives you out of the box. So here you'll notice that it says here level 1, and you notice here in the project browser, which again is your tour guide, giving you a list of folders of things you can look at in your file, and whatever's bold within those folders is what's active on the screen, although this tab is really announcing it already. So I'm in level 1, and what Revit does, it gives you an imaginary area to work in that's 2 stories tall. It gives you a level 1, it gives you a level 2. First floor and second floor, for example. And those can be renamed and called whatever it is you like. But that's what Revit gives you out of the box. You don't have to use 2 floors. It simply gives you these 2 levels as a starting point. If I double click on level 2, I'm on an imaginary second floor of my project. If I take a look at east, for example, under low elevations, I'll be looking at a drawing from the east orientation. So imagine in the center of these arrows, your file will be here in the center. These arrows are basically looking at the elevation of your building. So as I build something, these arrows are launching a view. They're like cameras from the north, from the south, from the east, from the west. So launching east elevation, I'm looking from the east, and Revit gives you markers here. They call these levels, and these are located on the architecture tab under datum right here. There's 2 floors, level 1, level 2, and Revit automatically sets them up into departments. At any given time, you can rename these. So I could, for example, click on level 1 here as an example and type and here it will rename all the views that correspond. So for example, if this is called first floor, over here in my project browser, level 1 will turn into this new change as soon as I hit yes. So now first floor here is actually first floor here. You change the name of the first level, and it's changed here as well. If I take a second floor, double click, saying yes, it'll change this tab to second floor. It'll change this drawing to second floor. So now I've set up a 2-floor building as an example that are 10 feet apart. So these things are hugely important because they basically establish the heights in Revit. They allow you to build things in Revit that start at certain levels and work their way to other levels. These are hugely important and should not be erased. If this were erased, for example, by mistake, by selecting it, holding down your mouse button and selecting it, and using the delete button on your keyboard, you will delete everything you've drawn on the first level of your project. If you delete this tag, you've deleted everything on the second level of your project. So these can never be deleted. They're not only markers what floor level heights there are. There's 10 feet between the first and second floor, but they also, in a sense, they are the second level of the building. They're one and the same. And it'll take a little while to wrap your head around this, but they should not be deleted. If I click on 10 feet and change it to 12, and in Revit, anything you type is always feet, unless you use the inch symbol. So 12 means 12 feet. It moves that marker up to 12 feet. These are 12 feet apart. And now you have a 12-foot floor-to-floor between the top of the first level and the top of the second level when you actually start this model. So back to the first floor here, I would double-click here on your project browser, or click on your tabs here. We'll launch the view any views you previously opened. So I looked at the first floor, the second floor, and the third floor. Therefore, Revit gives me a tab for the first floor, for the second floor, and for the the east elevation. These tabs are shortcuts to return to the things I previously saw. They also appear here at the very top. If you open this button, Revit keeps breadcrumbs of everything you looked at previously. So clicking any one of these will go back to a previous view. The problem is, at some point, you may open so many views. Anything you see on the screen here is called a view. These objects here, anything listed here is called a view. If you open many of those views, they'll appear at the top of the screen, and they'll populate this entire bar up here. And at some point, you might have too many. It might be hard to work with. So if you want to clear out your views and just focus on one, you simply use this button here to the left of switch windows. You use this button here called Close Inactive Views. Inactive because they're not open. So if I click on this button, I stay on the view I'm on, and it clears out all the other views. If you look at this list, I only have one drawing left, the first floor of this project. So whereas AutoCAD has multiple files of multiple drawings, Revit has everything contained in one file. It has everything from your floor plans to your sheets to your perspectives to your elevations. They're all in one project file, all contained together and listed in this menu. And as you make more views and files, not files rather, more views, they'll show up here on the list, and this list begins to grow based on how many views you create for a project. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a very simplistic residential project to give you an example of how Revit functions, and we're going to build it out throughout the course over the next week, little by little, week by week. And because it's a relatively small project, it's not very intimidating. It can be done easily by spending maybe a couple hours on the project per week. And so I try to keep it relatively small, but covering all the commands that are possible in Revit in an introductory course. So let's begin. We're going to take an AutoCAD file and bring it to Revit. More often than not, companies are transitioning from AutoCAD to Revit, or they're working with consultants that are using AutoCAD, and they would then like to migrate to Revit. So usually what happens is companies are using Revit imports drawings from AutoCAD and simply trace them. A lot of interior design firms I work with are working with consultants that are using AutoCAD files, or clients that have AutoCAD files. And what they do is they take those AutoCAD files and they trace them in Revit and recreate them as a 3D model. Something you would do in SketchUp, something you could do with 3D Studio Max software, something you could do with AutoCAD 3D tools. Well, Revit is a 3D modeling system that's far more superior than any of the software I just listed. It's very similar to 3D Studio Max, with the exception is that it's specific to buildings, architectural projects. So I am going to use Insert, and I'm going to bring in an AutoCAD file. Here I have AutoCAD open, and I've got several files here. These are the files I posted to the Google Dropbox. So if I look here, A11 is the first floor of this project in AutoCAD. A12 is the second floor of this project. I'm going to go to Model Space here. I'm going to click on Model in the bottom left. Here's the second floor of the project we'll be building. And here's the third floor of the project we'll be building. If I go to Model Space in AutoCAD, here's the third floor. It has a little unit up there. So I try to build something that has a lot of the commands that you're going to be using for Revit, things like stairs and floors and cabinets and what have you. So this file called A11, I'm going to import into Revit. This is the first floor of this AutoCAD project. If you're using a project from AutoCAD, just remember that somewhere on the screen, is 0, 0. Like somewhere in AutoCAD, there's a point in space called 0, 0, and typically you want to draw near that place. That's important for Revit also. So if I draw a line in AutoCAD, a L or line from 0, 0, that point in space right there should be somewhere near your drawing, and typically on the corner of your AutoCAD drawing. But that's hugely important, so your drawing doesn't wind up in outer space somewhere, miles and miles away from 0, 0 in AutoCAD. So this file has 0, 0 somewhere in the middle of the project. Go back to Revit, and I've got a quick chat coming in. Hang on a second. Maria Jose, it seems like your speaker is turned on and people can hear you speaking in the background. You might want to turn your speaker off. Okay. So. Okay. I'm going to go here to link AutoCAD, link CAD. I'm going to find that file called A11. I believe that's the file here of the first floor. So I'm going to go to AutoCAD here. This is the interface to load an AutoCAD project. Preserve means bring in all the AutoCAD colors. That's fine. Import units is going to detect AutoCAD scale and bring it in. You want to make sure that's left here as is. I'm going to bring in all the AutoCAD layers in. You can specify what layers you want to bring in from AutoCAD. You can determine just the ones that are visible, that are turned on in the AutoCAD file. I'm going to bring them all in. I'm going to use all here. So only use these two if you really want to do that type of work and bring in only certain files. Just be aware, if you ever use this, visible, bring in the AutoCAD drawings and only the layers, only the things you can see in the file, into Revit, or specify, check which layers you want to bring in. If you ever do any of these two, you will never be able to see the layers you turned off and didn't bring in into Revit. Just be aware of that. And if you use AutoCAD, you understand what I'm describing. I typically bring in all the layers and then decide in Revit which ones to hide from Revit. But if you use specify or visible, you will lose those layers permanently, and you have to bring in the file again. So here we're going to position the middle of AutoCAD to the middle of Revit. That's what this means here. And we're going to put the drawing on the first floor of Revit. You see here it says first floor in bold. I'm going to bring the AutoCAD file into the first floor, and I'm going to hit open, and it brings the file in right there. If the AutoCAD file is too big, and it's on top of these arrows here, these here, you would surround these with your mouse, click and hold your mouse button, the left button of your mouse, surround that thing, put your mouse on top, and with that little move command, move them out of the way, or move them back. So do that in case these things ever fall on top of your AutoCAD file, which is here. If you can't see them, move these outside your building. These arrows here are these views. Deleting these boxes here will delete these views, east, west, north, and south. They're one and the same. For example, if I click on this little arrow right here, it'll give me an elevation of this side of the building. I can see this side of the building looking at that arrow, as if that's a camera looking in this arrow direction. I'm standing here in the box, looking in this direction. Double click, I can see the east of the building. It says east here, it says east here, and I'm going back to my floor plan here by clicking on the floor plan. Do not delete these. You can bring them back, but I'll save that discussion for later. So here's the AutoCAD file on the first floor. If I click on the AutoCAD file, you'll see it's self-contained. It's all connected together, and it has a little stick pin in the middle of it, right there. Right there, the little stick pin that makes this drawing stuck to this location in Revit. If I click on that drawing and I want to unstick the drawing, I would have to use this command here called unpin, or UP for short. Anything in parentheses is a shortcut. That means that currently I cannot move that drawing. It's stuck to the screen, which is good because if I ever brought that drawing back, if I ever had to remove and bring this drawing back into Revit, it puts it exactly in this location, and that's a good thing. So only move this, unpin it, and move this drawing if it's absolutely necessary. If I look at this drawing, there's certain things I don't want to see. We're going to be drawing walls. I don't care about a lot of information I see here. So I might want to turn off certain information from the AutoCAD file. So what I'll do is I'll click on this drawing, and you'll notice that these commands here become available under Modify. There's Query and there's Delete. Query will let you ask this drawing from AutoCAD, what layer are you on? Which means everything in AutoCAD is drawn on layers that determine what color the lines are, what they represent, the names of those objects. Well, this lets you turn them off. For example, I don't want to see these section lines here that cutting through the building. I don't need to see this right now. So if I click on the AutoCAD file and use Query, I can click on this object here, and it tells me here what layer it's on. Layer. Right here. And I can say Hide in View. Here. If you use Delete, you'll never get it back unless you remove this AutoCAD file and bring it back later. So I would prefer just to hide it in the view. I click on this word here. This is the layer from AutoCAD. Hide it in the view. I will click on this stair, for example. Hide it in the view. Maybe the guardrails. Hide it in the view. So as you go through this, you can turn things off that are not necessary for the task at hand. So if I look in here, I can click on this word and hide in view. The other way you can do this is simply, I'm going to cancel out of this command. I'm still in the Modify command. To cancel any command in Revit, just hit Escape on your keyboard twice. Escape, escape. You see the command is now deactivated, and I'm back to my ribbon, and I can do anything I like here on the ribbon. Deactivate your command by using Escape, escape on your keyboard. There's certain other things I want to erase, but rather than using Query, another way you can do this is simply to go into a command here called View, Visibility Graphics here, or VG. If I type VG, it launches the menu like this. This menu controls everything you see in Revit. So basically, anything that's 3D, any 3D model you build will be listed here. This is anything and everything you can build in Revit in 3D. Here. Doors, windows, walls, what have you. That's called the model categories. Uncheck the box, those things will disappear. Check the box, they become visible. Annotations are text and dimensioning. Anything you use to annotate a drawing, anything that describes a drawing's measurements or text and notes on a drawing are hidden here. Under imported categories here, these are things you brought into Revit using the insert command. And there's my AutoCAD file right there. And if I pop that open here with a little plus sign, this shows me all the information being brought in from AutoCAD. And every one of these describes some part of that drawing. And you can see how these checkboxes that are turned off are the ones I selected and unchecked. You can grab all of these here, for example, and uncheck them all, and that will hide the AutoCAD drawing completely. Hit apply, and OK. The AutoCAD drawing's gone. But when you go back to Visibility Graphics, or VG for short, and you go back to your AutoCAD file here, and you decide I want to see, for example, my walls, a wall, for example, you'd have to turn on the drawing here, and then here, turn on the A wall layer, which is probably your walls. Or a window layer. Here's interior wall, or eye wall. Maybe I'll just turn those on for a second just to see what I have. And let's see if I have any windows. doors, floors, glazing. I'm going to turn those on as well. Hit apply, and all of a sudden, this is all you see. There. And these are AutoCAD's layers. Someone drew these lines in AutoCAD in green and yellow and whatever shades you see here. Now, I'm going to go a step further and make this a black and white drawing. Back to VG. Go back to imported categories. Open your AutoCAD file. And what you can also do, you can select all these layers and go into the lines column right here. Click on any one of these layers. And I'm going to change them all with this override command. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to say that every one of those lines from AutoCAD should be a continuous line, which here they call solid. Solid is continuous line. I'm going to make all those layers from AutoCAD the same color, something obnoxious, like pink. So now all my AutoCAD layers are going to be this color and a solid line, and the line weights, Revit has 16 line weights. 1 is the thinnest, 16 is really, really heavy. These are all Revit's line weights. I'm going to make all those lines line weight 1, which is a really thin line. That becomes important later. I'm going to hit apply. Notice that here, when I hit escape, or actually I click on one of these answers, everything is now going to be overridden by these magenta lines here. I hit apply and OK. And here, all my AutoCAD layers have turned into this sort of magenta color, or pink color. Which is good because my Revit colors are going to be black when I start drawing on top of these walls. So let's build something. Does anyone have a question? If you do, please chat me, and I'll stop here and answer your questions. But what I've done is I use insert to bring it to AutoCAD drawing using link AutoCAD. I've taken all the AutoCAD layers and turned off the ones I do not want to see right now, the ones that are not important. And then I took all the layers from AutoCAD and made them all pink. So I can differentiate what's AutoCAD and what's Revit when I start drawing on top of this lines in Revit. So please chat me if you have any questions. So let's do, the first thing you'll ever do in Revit. You're going to the Architecture tab and you're going to go to the Wall command. And right here, there's several commands here. We're going to use the Wall Architectural command, and we're going to build a wall. Now, before we do that, it might be helpful to understand how thick this wall is. And I've got one check coming in. What is it? AutoCAD, Revit, does Revit have 0, 0? Revit 0, 0 is basically in the center of these crosshairs, like right there. It's centered. It's not like an official 0, 0 point where you can specify it in Revit, but it is, I mean, not with these commands I'm showing you. But currently, Revit 0, 0 is like right here, in between these arrows when you start Revit. All right, so let's understand this file. How thick are these walls? I want to make these exterior walls, and let's figure out how thick they are. So if I zoom in, Revit has a little shortcut, a little tape measure, right here. At the upper left, looks like a little piece of tape next to the printer. If I click on that, and I have Revit snap to this line. Now, you want to look for a snap, which is like a little magnet that gets stuck to a line. You want to measure how far it is between this line and this line with a straight line. So I put a little tape measure right here. The little X appears. Click. Drag it down and click on the opposite wall. And that tells me right there, that's 8 inches. And I'm assuming the entire building is 8 inches. So let's build an 8-inch wall on the exterior of this building. If I go to wall, here it gives me what they have here is the first thing you read here in this little menu in properties, it just changed. It says basic wall. I'm in the wall command. If you want to get out of the wall command, hit escape twice. Escape, escape. You're out of the command. Any command. But what I want to do is go to here, open this menu, use the architectural wall, and the properties just changed. In fact, the entire interface changed. The ribbon now is trying to place a wall. The ribbon now has an options bar. This green bar here is called the options bar. Always look for options that are available when you build things in Revit, because these are always helpful. Here in your properties, this menu changed. The very first thing you see here at the top is called a family in Revit. We'll talk more about families down the road, but the family is called basic wall. It's like a collection of objects you're building in Revit. So the family is called basic wall family. Inside that family are various members of the family. Those are called types. So I'm in the basic wall family, and a type of wall is called the generic 8-inch wall. That is a prefab wall Revit already has available. If you open this menu, you can see all the different types of walls Revit has available. You can build and choose from. Some are generic, which means no materials are applied. There's no brick, no studs, no drywall, no nothing. They're generic. As you mature your project, you then transform them into more sophisticated walls, like these here, which happen to have brick or concrete or metal studs. But you can always start simple and make your wall more sophisticated down the road. You don't have to build your model complicated from the very beginning. You start simple. So I have an 8-inch wall. Here's an 8-inch wall. It just so happens. I click on an 8-inch wall, and it's going to want to have me draw an 8-inch wall. These are my tools here. This tool here lets me draw a wall as a straight line. This lets me draw a wall as a rectangle. This lets me draw a wall as a circle. So if I draw a wall using the straight line command, it'll draw a wall from point A to point B. And you'll notice there's an imaginary, there's a little dotted line that shows up on the screen that's in the center of the wall. And I get a little measurement that's showing up here as I rubber band my wall. And when I click again, it stops building that wall and wants to build another wall. And as I move that mouse down, maybe straight down, it wants to build a wall that's 11 feet long. And I can click. I can move to the left. Click. When I want to cancel the wall command, I hit escape once. Escape once, cancel the command, but I'm still in the wall command to build more walls. Hit escape again, cancel the wall command completely. So I'm out completely from the command. Now I'm going to have these walls here in Revit. I'm going to delete these walls. I'm going to click and hold my mouse, drag through the walls like AutoCAD, and hit delete on my keyboard. My walls are supposed to be sitting on this AutoCAD file. So I want to draw them very specifically. So use the wall command again. When you click on the button, hit escape. When you click on the button here, it launches the last wall command you used. The last one I used was this one. So therefore, clicking here is the last command. WA is a shortcut for wall. Just type it on your keyboard. Do not hit enter. This is not AutoCAD. Just WA, and it launches the command instantly. There's no command line where you can see what you're typing in Revit. So, click here. I want to draw a wall very specifically here. But notice that when I draw a wall along this line, it wants to snap to it. The little box shows up, which means it's stuck to the end of that wall. But when I draw the wall, it seems to be the center of the wall, which is odd. That's not where the wall is supposed to be. So, hit escape. What I want to do is change this here, the location line. When you draw in Revit, it's building the wall based on this orientation. It's building the wall from the wall center. I want to determine where the wall's edge is, and in fact, the outside edge of the wall. And you notice here, they've got finished face of the outside, finished face of the interior. They got wall center line. They got this thing called a core, which we'll describe later. But I want to describe the outside edge of a wall, which is the finished face exterior. Fine. I want that option. Chain lets me chain a wall together. When I draw a wall, it's connected together because chain is turned on. If chain is turned off, it draws a wall and it stops the command, and then you can draw another wall somewhere else. And it stops the command because the chain is turned off. I'm going to hit escape, select these again, hit delete. I want to draw a wall here. Again, wall, And the quickest way to do this is to use the rectangle command. So rectangle, I'll trace this entire building, and notice I'm going to ignore all the windows and doors, which is normal for Revit. Never draw a wall that stops on either end of a door or window. Draw a wall solid through the doors and windows. And then later we'll cut a hole for a door and window automatically with Revit. So these walls should all be solid because they all represent doors or openings. I'm going to ignore them all. And I'm going to draw a wall from this corner to this corner. Hit escape to cancel the command. I'm in this style of drawing. The shaded command, I'm in hidden line currently, which means make everything black and white and hide everything that's beneath me. Wireframe makes your projects transparent. I can see everything through, as if my walls are made out of glass. Hidden line, my walls are solid. I can't see through them because they're a solid material. I've got shaded, fill them in with color. Consistent color and shaded are really kind of the same thing. We'll show you that in 3D in a second. Realistic, replacing materials with the actual real-world materials photographed, like a picture brick or something. We're not doing that yet. We'll do that later. So I build walls. I made this shaded. Here, I'll make it hidden. And what you built was a 3D model. And how do you know that? Well, when you go in the upper left, right there's a little house, a little 3D model there called Default 3D View. When you click on that, I'm going to launch the 3D view. The 3D view is not here in my project browser because I haven't created one yet. But when I use the little house, click, there's the 3D view. And there's Revit 2019, which shows level tags here. They're like pieces of glass, like an imaginary floor. Level 2 is like an imaginary floor here, like a piece of paper that you can draw on. Level 1 here is like a piece of paper I can draw on. You see the house? Drawing is stuck to the level 1 piece of paper at 0, 0. It's on the floor. Second floor is 12 feet above, up in the air. My walls are sitting on the first floor, and they're a certain height. Hit escape. I'm going to rotate around, and I can see my CAD drawing inside there. When you import a CAD drawing, they appear everywhere in your entire project. The CAD drawing inserted appears in every one of these views. Every view is exclusive, which means that if you turn off the CAD drawing from the floor plan, you're only turning it off from the floor plan. That has nothing to do with a view called east and north and second floor plan. Every one of these drawings is exclusive. Whatever you do on the first floor has no effect on the other levels when it comes to how you hide things, like hiding the AutoCAD drawing, turning off layers. This is my 3D model I built. Each of the walls here are selectable. If you hold down Shift, you can select more than one at the same time. I'm sorry, not Shift, Control, like this. If you click on the wall here, you can delete it. You can delete on your keyboard. Undo is right here with a little back arrow, undo, or you all know Control Z. Control Z brings it back. And if you click on a wall, you'll notice that here it has little grips, little arrows, that let you stretch the wall to different sizes. But the most important thing in Revit is the data that's behind these walls. And the data is what the properties is about. The properties menu here currently describing what's on the screen until you select something. When I select a wall, these properties give me information about the thing I selected. Right now, nothing is selected. Nothing is highlighted in blue. But when I click on something, this menu shows up here and tells me I'm using the basic wall. It's generic 8 inches type. Here are all my types. It tells me here that it's using the exterior face of the wall. And these are all options. These are all called parameters. And these are all the options that you can change right here, right now. So even if I drew a wall wrong using the center line of the wall, all these commands are available to you. So nothing is permanent when you're working in Revit. If you built something wrong, you don't erase it. You simply modify it. So if I click on the wall and I made a mistake and used the wrong height or used the wrong orientation of the wall, the location line, I can change it here. I don't have to start over. This wall has a base constraint and a base offset. It has a top constraint and a top offset. What does that mean? It means when you build a wall in Revit, the base is the bottom of the wall. Whenever you see base, it means bottom. So the bottom of this wall is located on this floor level. Remember we have two levels, first floor, second floor? Well, the bottom of the wall is stuck to the first floor. And this menu shows you every single level you have. So I could say the bottom of the wall is stuck to the second floor, and it will literally hit apply, jump to the second floor. Because you told that wall base to be stuck to this floor level. The bottom of the wall is now on the second floor. Or change it back to the first floor. It goes back to the first floor. That wall is different than this wall, it's different than that wall. You can change each one independently. This wall height is established here. The top constraint is here, what they call unconnected. That means that the number below, unconnected height, this number controls how tall that wall is. So when I stretch this wall here, it tells me here how tall that wall is. But I can also change it here. I type 20, hit apply, it's now 20 feet tall. Because it's unconnected, which means it's not communicating with the level. You could tell this wall to communicate with a level by simply saying that the top of the wall is equal to the top of the second floor. Therefore, the wall goes from the first floor up to the top of the second floor. Hit apply, that's where it goes. Therefore, your heights are important now. Your floor-to-floor height. You told this wall to go from the first floor to the second floor. How far is that? We'll take a look at your east elevation. 12 feet. That says 12 feet. Therefore, the wall went from here to there. Back to 3D view. That what controls this wall. That is the best way to control wall heights, is by using levels. Which means that if I were to come into my menu here and one day say that the second floor is 50 feet tall, then you'll notice this wall just got really tall in 3D. Because the second floor just rose up to 50 feet. You see this number here? And these are available everywhere. If the second floor is supposed to be 12 feet, double click here, make that number 12, hit enter, and the floor goes down to 12, and notice that the wall is now stuck 12 feet. If all your walls talk to the levels, all your walls are controlled by the level height, which is a good way to work. So I can click this, hold control, this and this, grab all these walls, because all these walls are the same type of object. They're all walls. You can select them at the same time and change them at the same time. If these were walls and windows, this trick will not work. All the objects you select have to be the same type of object. These are all walls, for example. So here I can say the top of the walls are going to be up to the second floor. Hit apply. And now they're all the same. Hit escape once to cancel. And now these walls are controlled by the second floor's height. Click a wall, hit tab, and it highlights all the walls. Sometimes this works. This is a shortcut. Sometimes you can select one wall, hit tab, and it'll connect all the walls that are touching that wall together. And when you click again with your mouse, it selects them all, and they can all change based on these settings. For example, anything available here can be changed right now. I could tell this wall here to become this wall. Brick on metal stud. Done. The walls just changed to brick. Brick has a pattern on it that looks like that. If you go to shaded mode, it looks like this, kind of shaded with its color. If you go to here, consistent colors means 3D view without lights. It looks like there's a light fixture over here that's shining on the building, but over here it's kind of dark. Consistent colors turned off the lights. Everything's flat. Realistic replaces the picture, these images here, with photographs of bricks. So for example, realistic shows you the bricks. Here. Those can be changed, modified. We'll do that in the future. But that basically shows you the realistic view, which is not really necessary to use in this view. I would typically work in black and white. Here. So this wall can be changed to any wall listed. I can make it this wall, for example, and notice here, that wall is rather sophisticated. It has a concrete base. It's got a little sill detail here. It's got some reveals cut out of the wall. It's got some kind of detail here at the parapet here, at the very top. If you see that in color, you'll see it's a very sophisticated wall. But for the sake of this exercise, we're going to select all these walls. Click one wall, hit tab, click again. I'm going to make them all the same. Notice here, there's multiple types selected. There's multiple types of basic walls selected, which means I can change them. At the same time, even though they're different, I can come into here and say, I'm going to make them all back, generic inches. So that's how Revit works, Revit functions. Another quick tip I want to show you is when you look at walls, you can also control how they're constructed. So I could flip between the different types of wall types available, but I can understand why there are different types of walls in Revit. I can go back to here, click on this wall, and I can take a closer look at this wall and understand how it's constructed. So this menu here is specific to this object I selected. These are called instance properties. Any information about this wall is located in this menu for properties. I can change this, and those properties are changing. You see here, the top offset. Offset. How far above the second floor do I want the wall to be? It's 3 feet above the second floor. Or I can make it exactly 5 feet above the second floor. I can make it negative 5 feet below the second floor just by typing in offset. So offsets let you stop and start where walls begin. Start on the first floor and go up a foot because the offset says so. Or start on top of the first floor, which would be 0. And go all the way up to the second floor and match the second floor. So if you want to match, you want to make it 0, even with the second floor. For offsets, there's an offset there, an offset there. So I'm working in Revit. I click on this object. What's it made out of? That information is stored here under Edit Type. Edit Type gives you information about this wall. This type of wall, again, the types, these are all types. I'm working on the 8-inch type right now. So Edit Type means edit this type of wall, which is edit the 8-inch wall, because that's the type I have currently highlighted here. And here's more information you can manipulate in Revit regarding that wall. So the most important thing here is that the structure of the wall determines how the wall is constructed. What makes that wall? When I go to Edit, here it gives me a list of information about that wall. This list is currently empty. There's nothing listed here. These columns get filled by information, by data, as you build the wall. This little preview button gives you information about the wall in plan view here. So this is a generic wall. There's nothing filled out here yet. It's 8 inches thick. That much I know. So what does a constructed wall look like when it's fully constructed? So if I close this and close that menu, and I change this to a different kind of wall, one that somebody had already built. So for example, I click and I change it into a brick on metal stud exterior wall. It looks like that. It got thicker. Why? Well, the why is here. Click the wall, edit type, and look through structure again. And notice the preview looks different. There's different color codes here. This is a cross section through the wall. Imagine slicing through the wall, looking down. All the materials that make up the wall are here. When I go to structure, it tells me what those materials are. And here it becomes a little more clearer. So, function is a way of flagging what these walls are used for. So if you look at the list, they basically organize the data and let you determine, oh, this is used for the exterior, the interior, the finish, what have you. Not hugely important at this moment, but there are different settings here that you can change. The second column is materials. These are the materials that make up the wall. If you went to a hardware store and bought materials, these are the things you would buy, except for air. But this wall is basically made up of these materials here. These are the materials that come from a materials library. The library is on this button here. When I click on that button, I can see all the different materials I can use to make that wall. When I click here, this launches the material library, and this is a listing of all the materials Revit loaded into my project, only the current project I have open right now. These are the default materials. If you see something you like, you click on it, hit OK, and it puts it into the menu. We will talk about this in a future class, but that's how these materials were placed on this list. In this order, because you can see there's an up and down button here. It lets you move things up and down. So the way this works is every layer of that wall, all these layers here, are listed here, top to bottom. And whatever is at the top of the list is considered the exterior of the wall. Not the exterior in terms of outside, but every wall has two sides, side A and side B. Revit calls each side interior or exterior. The top of the wall, whatever is listed here, is called the exterior side of the wall. Very bottom, that's the interior side of the wall. That's how this wall is constructed on this list. That's how it's organized. So as I look through the list, these materials make up the wall. These are their thicknesses. And the sum of all these materials is 1 foot 1 7/8 inches thick. And you can change these numbers listed here to whatever thicknesses you want, and that wall will change to allow for those revisions to happen. So that wall is listed here. That wall happens to have brick on the outside. That's why you saw a photograph of brick. And it's these thicknesses that make up that wall there. Layer by layer by layer are listed here. So this here is called the structure. So something has to be between line 5 and 7, what they call the core. Something always must be in this line here. If you only have one material, that one material has to be in this area here. In this case, they made it called structure, and they put a metal stud there, and the stud is 6 inches thick because they wrote it down here. That would be this stud right here that makes up that wall. So that's how the walls are constructed, and we're dealing with basic walls currently. Therefore, this wall, if it happens to be generic, like let's say generic 8 inches, this wall has no materials applied under structure. Unless you use the insert command and you start inserting materials to the list, go through the materials menu here and start choosing materials you want to use to build the wall. Now, I wouldn't do it that way. I'm going to hit cancel to cancel that out. I don't want that. Normally what you do is you take a wall that's already built and you change it to something else. You do that by basically going through your list of walls here, pick something that's similar, duplicate it, and make it your own. Let's say I want to change this wall here called brick on metal stud. And if I look at edit type structure, it tells me it's this thick, and it's using 6-inch studs here. I don't want 6-inch studs. I want 3 and 5/8-inch studs. What you want to do then, hit cancel. What you want to do then is before you go too far, if you're going to use one of these walls here, what I suggest you do is you go to edit type and make this wall your own. Because if someone sees exterior brick on metal stud in Revit, they understand how thick that wall is. They know what it should look like. And if you change these settings and someone else works on your project, they will be confused because they know what to expect from this wall. And you've changed something. You made it thinner. You changed the material. It doesn't make any sense to them. So what I would suggest you do is hit duplicate. And more often than not, what I suggest people is put their name of their company here or their initials, like JM, for example. And I'm going to call this EXT brick on metal stud. And hit OK. I've now duplicated this wall. I made it my own. With the duplicate button, when you look at the list, these are all your walls. I've just added that wall to the list. That's my wall. So when I go to structure and change this number here to 3 5/8, this wall is going to get thinner. So hit it, OK. The wall got thinner. It tells you here it's only 11.5 inches thick. If I wanted to be a perfect 12 inches thick, I can go into here and say, give me another ½ inch. I'll make the airspace a little bit thicker. So that extra ½ inch is going to make this thicker. And I hit that, and hit OK. And now that wall is exactly this wall here, the John exterior brick wall. It's 12 inches thick because this menu tells me it is 12 inches thick. And that wall is mine, and that's been added to the list here. Only for the project I'm working in right now. If you start another project, this wall will not exist in there. Just to be clear, that's my special wall. So I could grab all these walls with tab, click, and make them all John's wall. Right there. Done. I made them all my wall. It's a little bit thicker than a normal wall, but that's what I've done. So I'm going to click on this one wall, hit tab, and go back to square one, which is normal 8-inch wall to begin with. So as you can imagine, you can build an entire house, an entire project with generic walls, and at some point, you can decide to make the walls more sophisticated. You can tell those 8-inch walls that today were 8 inches, but tomorrow might be 12 inches. We'll change them later. Don't erase them. Modify the walls, duplicate them, give them names that make sense, and then use them in your project. That's the best way to build your walls in Revit. So I built out my walls here on the first floor. I double-clicked here. I'm on the first floor. Here's my east elevation. It's just a little rectangle right now. Here's my 3D view. I can rotate around it. I go back to my plan. Let's look at the interior for a second. Tape measure right here. How big is this wall from here to here? That says 4 3/4. Do I have a 4 3/4 inch wall? It's wall. Let's take a look. 4 3/4. There is no such thing. So what's close? Well, 8 inches close. Or do you want to make it a type of wall that already exists? Like these walls here have drywall and 2-hour partitions, 1.5 inches, what have you. Or you can make it generic. Again, you can always change it later. So I'm going to make this 8-inch wall a new wall that's 4 3/4. Edit type, duplicate, John's wall, 4 3/4, so I know what the heck it is when I see it again. Hit OK, and here under Edit Structure, make the change right there. That's going to be 4 3/4 inch wall. Hit OK, hit OK. I now have a new wall called 4 3/4, and here I'm going to draw it along this edge. Now instead of tracing the edge, what I'm going to do now, I could draw one if I wanted to. I'm going to use this command here called Pick Lines. It lets me pick something on the drawing that already exists, and it'll trace it for me. But be careful what you're doing, because when I use this, and this says center, it'll put the center of the wall right there. But that should be the edge of the wall on the exterior. So instead, I'm going to change this to finish face to the exterior. So when I use the Pick Line command and I pick this line, notice that if I pick on this side, the wall goes to the left. If I pick this side, the wall goes to the right. I'm going to pick this side. Click. There's my wall. Click here. See, my walls are going to go down where the dotted line is. The dotted line is the center of the wall. So when I pick this wall and the center is below me, the wall gets placed right there. Now notice how quick it is to draw walls in Revit. I simply use the wall command, the pick line command. I pick this wall here. I pick this wall here. And then simply I stretch the walls to where they belong. It's pretty easy. You click on the wall, you grab the little grip, and you pull it down. Is one method. You can click on this wall, drag it, and watch what happens when you connect the walls together. If I drag it into this wall, they will automatically blend in together. They join each other automatically right there. So if I click here, I can pull this over to there. And here, there's some other tips and tricks you can use to modify this further. So what I'll do here is I'll begin to trim out these walls using shortcuts that are found in AutoCAD. It's very similar to AutoCAD. So what I want to do here is go to Modify. And rather than tugging and pulling on these walls, what I'll do here, Modify command, is I'll use all these tools here to do my modifications. And if you hover over each command, you can see what they do. They're pretty straightforward. Some are called something different in AutoCAD, but they do the same work. For example, right now we'll use the Trim Extend command, which lets me click a wall here, click a wall here, and connect them together. Click a wall here, click a wall here, to connect them together. This is called the Trim Extend. I can go to this wall with this wall, and it extends it over. See? And as I go back to 3D, the 3D house, or my saved 3D view I already had open, you can see it's building my walls exactly the way I expected. This wall goes up to the second floor. This wall goes up to the second floor. And this wall happens to be a generic 4 3/4 inch wall, as opposed to this wall, which is a generic 8-inch wall. So if I have both these walls selected together with Control, I've got multiple types of walls selected. I can change them here, and they'll both be the same height or the same base constraint. But if I change them here, be careful, because whatever you do here will change them both, because you have them both highlighted right now. So if I chose breakout metal studs, they both will become breakout metal studs. You can see it right there, what's happening. They both got thicker. Control Z is undo. Back to plan view. These walls are a little thicker. Let me wrap this up by doing a little tape measure here. How thick is this? That's 8 inches. I need an 8-inch wall. Simple enough. I can grab my wall command here, and I can draw a line from this edge to this edge, but it's in the wrong orientation, and it's the wrong type of wall. So do you want to fix it now, or do you want to fix it later? Let's say I want to fix it now. I'm going to hit escape. What I should do first is change this to an 8-inch wall, make this the finished face of the exterior, then draw the wall. If it's in the wrong location, see how the orientation is off? Use the space bar on your keyboard to flip it over and put it in the right spot. You can also align it later, but space bar lets you simply click and do that, and you see these walls are all connected together. And this wall needs to be copied here. So I am going to use the wall command again. Straight line. I'm going to go from this wall to that wall. I missed the corner. I'm going to hit escape. Grab it with the endpoint command. And then use spacebar to flip it over and then connect the dots. So basically, spacebar is in the middle of a command, like drawing a wall. I draw a wall, and the spacebar lets me just flip the wall over. Spacebar flips it while you're drawing. So it's a very quick tip to draw walls. In 3D view, I have a wall built here. Whoops, to the wrong height. Simple enough. Click here, click there. They're supposed to be the same height. So under the top constraint, you see it's off. It should have been connecting to the top of the second floor and hit apply. After a couple of seconds, it does the command automatically. You don't always have to hit apply, but give it a second. You'll see the apply happens automatically, but click apply if you want to see it right away. There's my walls. All my walls in shaded view. Very nice. All my walls in black and white. Hidden view. All my walls transparent. Wireframe view. And you can see I drew walls over all the doors. See where the doors are here? On the openings in the doors? I ignored those completely. The walls are all hidden line. They're all solid, and that's intentional. Let's go back to plan view. Click here in plan view. Let's draw some doors. I have no idea where the doors are because I'm covering up my AutoCAD drawing completely because I'm in hidden line. This is why wireframe is useful. There. And in wireframe, I can see there's windows here, curtain walls. I'll draw those later. But here, I can see some openings in the walls here. Let's see. Where are my door swings? I want to see the door swings. So go back to visibility graphics, view visibility graphics, or VG for short. Open my AutoCAD drawing, which is listed here. Find the door, which are these guys. A door frame. Maybe that'll show me my door swings. Let's see. Hit apply and OK. There they are. There's my door swings right there. There's 3 doors. There's an opening, and there's a sliding door right there. Let's figure out how big these guys are. Tape measure. How big is this door from here to here? That's a 30-inch door. Okay, great. AutoCAD. I wonder which command here will draw a door. And this is where Revit becomes really easy to understand. There's a command here called door that draws doors. There's a command here that's called column that draws columns. It's very intuitive. If you launch the tab and you read the command, you can very quickly find the thing you're looking for. And so if I want to draw a door, I hit door, and all the rules are the same. What type of door do I want? From what family? Single flush family, 36 by 84-inch door. Open the list. How many doors do I have? Oh, I have some 30-inch doors, 36-inch doors, 32-inch doors. Here's a 30-inch door. Here's an 84-inch. All right, here's a 30 by 84-inch door. I click on that door, and it won't work unless it finds a host. What that means is, search commands in Revit needs a host. It needs somebody to someplace to put that object. You can't have freestanding doors out in space somewhere. You can't have windows floating in space. You have to have a wall. Therefore, the wall is the host. You can't put a light fixture in Revit unless you have a ceiling. Therefore, the ceiling is hosting the light fixtures. So, doors need a host, and the host is the wall. If I hover over a wall, it puts the door there. And if I hold the space, if I click the space bar, it flips the door, just like it flips the wall. What I can do is place it, click, done. Hit escape twice. It's in the wrong place. So you can either click and drag, which is not very precise. You can always click and use on the Modify tab. Again, you selected something, and selecting always launches the Modify tab and all these tools here. So if I click the door, all these tools are available, and the one that makes the most sense is either the Move command or the Align command. Move this corner to this corner. Done. That door is finished. I want to build another door here. I could go back to door command and launch the same door family again, or I can do a shortcut, and the shortcut in Revit is this. Click on the door that you want to copy, right click, and create similar. And makes the same object again without you having to find it. So that I want to create a similar one and put it here instead. Click, hit escape a couple times, zoom in, This time, instead of move, I'll use align. Align command means align. Where do I want to go? I want to go to this edge. Okay, what's going to go there? This edge of the door. Click, the door move over. Done. Very quick and easy. How big is this door? I have no idea. Tape measure from here to here. That looks like a 30-inch door. Okay, fine. How big is this door? Well, that's a 30-inch door also. Therefore, right-click, create a similar door right here. Use the space bar to flip it. And then when you zoom in, use the AL command. So you see here, AL is shortcut. See under align is AL in parentheses. So if I just type AL, it launches the command right away. I want to go here with that. Done. This is a pocket door. Oh, I'm sorry, a sliding door. I don't have a sliding door. Let's go back here. What's going on here? There's no sliding door here. That becomes a dilemma. Where is the sliding door? I need a sliding door. Well, in that case, what you do is you load a different family into your project. If you don't have the family, again, a family is a collection of objects that are of a similar type, like a door family, a window family. Well, if I don't have the family I need, Revit might have it on your computer. So here, what you do is use this command here called modify placer door. That's a load family command. So this is a folder Revit installed on your computer. It's located here, and the U.S. imperial is U.S. feet and inches. If I scroll through this list of folders that Revit installed on your computer, you'll find the door folder. Inside the door folder, as I click and browse with my arrow key on my keyboard, I can see all the different kinds of doors they have available. And they have different folders here. So there's a residential folder. If I look in there, I'm looking for a sliding door. I'm not sure if they have any. That's a double pocket. This is here, right here. A door interior, double sliding 2-panel door. And I hit open. And here are all the doors they want to load for you. You can load them all, or you can load specific ones. So I forget how big it's open. Let's call it a 6-inch opening. So it's this one here, 72 by 84. It's open. That door is now added to the list of doors. The family is loaded into Revit. Give it a second. Look in here. I got a brand new family. Families are always in gray. The family is called the door interior double sliding door family. The type of door inside that family is called 72 by 84. I can put it right here. Click on it. I can put it on this wall in the wrong spot intentionally because I want to use AL to align it with this door jamb right there. And actually, it looks like I made a door that's slightly bigger than what I needed because I didn't measure. But I'm going to ignore that, and I'm going to use a bigger door anyway. Notice that when I go back to hidden line view, there's my AutoCAD drawing because doors don't have, they don't hide what's beneath them. So I can see the AutoCAD drawing beneath me here. This door is bigger, which is fine. And notice that anything you select in Revit always have these relative dimensions. These are called temporary dimensions, these numbers here. Whenever you see these numbers, you can always select the number and change the number. I can make this door exactly here, 4 feet away from the wall, center line. By typing 4 feet and enter, and the door moves over 4 feet exactly. Notice that the dimension string here also has little dots here called witness lines. That dot will jump from the center of the wall to each side of the wall, interior, exterior, center. So as I click on these buttons here, the little dot, I can basically make it go to the edge of the wall instead. And now the edge of the wall to the center of this door is 3 foot 9 and 5/8, which I can click here and change to exactly 4 feet. Enter. And then when I hit escape, the command is done. See, it stays 4 feet. when you click on these measurements here, that happens with doors. When you click on walls, for example, if I draw a quick wall here, these are reminders to save your project. I'm going to hit save for fear of crashing. I'm going to call this temporary. I'm going to hit yes. Give me a backup. It's going to save the project. Question I'll answer in 1 second. If I click on the wall, you notice that it gives me a bunch of other dimensions. Things like how close you are to another wall, which it thinks it might be important. This might not be important, but Revit gives you these measurements anyway in case they are important. The length of this wall might be important. I might want to make that 12. The arrows here tell me what side of the wall is exterior. Maybe the exterior has brick and the interior has gypboard. Well, that arrow tells me this edge is the exterior. That might be important. These numbers might be important. Maybe that should be 12. Maybe this should be 12. And notice that things begin to move and change depending on where you place them. You don't have to use these measurements. They're there to help, but they're not always necessary or useful for that matter. And you can always use this button here. That makes the measurements that are temporary in blue permanent. So if I click right there and I click on the screen, there's a temporary measurement that became permanent. Now, you might not want to see that measurement. There's better ways to add dimensions to a project. You might not want to see this later, so you can always click on that and hit delete on your keyboard and it's gone. Now, if you click on the wall, it goes back to temporary because it lets you change it. So I could make this 5. I can see here that's 5. I want it to be 5, and I'm done using this, so click and delete. You no longer need that. What was the message? Maria Jose has her speakers on. That's the message. Maria Jose has her speaker on. Please turn it off. Thank you. Okay, so I've drawn walls. I've drawn pocket doors. I'm missing a door here. I'm not sure how big this door is, so I'm going to go wireframe. I'm going to do a little tape measure. How big is this guy here? About 3 feet. I'm going to put a door here that's about 3 feet. I know it's going to change later. This is just temporary. I know this is supposed to be a curtain wall. If you look here, you see this wall is made out of glass entirely. So we're going to build that at a future class. But today, I'm just putting a normal door in here like this. Notice that doors come with door frames, the door itself. They're here on the inside. There's an opening here that's missing. We'll do that 1 sec. There's a door there. Right there. I have in mute on my microphone. Okay. So doors are in place, but this should be an opening. I don't want a door here. I want an opening. So how do I make an opening? Back to the first floor. Look at your list of tools. Does something say opening? Well, if you go all the way across to the right, you'll notice here to the opening. And that says wall opening. So chances are, this is the command you want to use. So how big is this opening? Well, it doesn't really matter because under the wall command, open it, let's click on this. And what this does is, it lets me click on the wall that's going to get an opening. Click. Then, you got to use the little rectangle command and draw a rectangle in the wall from one point to the next point. Start here and drag it to here. And that makes an opening. And that becomes an invisible 3D model that cuts through your walls right there. That's the opening right there, which can be dragged, which can be pulled on here with the grips. And you can manipulate that any which way you like. So, always best to do it in plan. For example, here, AL is a line. Go to here with the edge of that opening there. Go to here with the edge of the opening right there. there. Now, click on the opening and describe the height. Now, it says here that the base is at 0, but the top offset is like some negative number, and it's here to go on the second floor. What this means is that opening is going to the second floor, the top constraint, and then from the top, it's coming down -6'5". So if the second floor was 12 feet, and I say -4 feet or -5 feet, that becomes an 8-foot opening. So let's go 3D. Click on the opening. This is the opening here. You see here, it's 5 feet away from the top of the second floor. So this wall is going up the second floor. The second floor is 12 feet away. So the opening is 12 feet minus 5, which means this opening is 7 feet tall. It's exactly where I put it here in plan, and I can manipulate it like any other wall or window or door in 3D view by making those changes happen. If I go through the floor plan and continue this task, I could then outfit all the walls with windows and doors using these two commands here because they're exactly the same. Doors and windows are exactly the same. Open up Windows, look through the list. If you don't see the window you like, use Load a Family, open the window folder, go back up to the window folder, which is here, and find a window you like. Manufacturers sell windows and doors. Manufacturers that sell windows and doors more often than not have Revit families on their website that you can download. So when you go look into a manufacturer's website and they have 3D models, look for Revit families. And so when you download those Revit families onto your computer, you can use Load Family and select the file you downloaded. It's called an RFA file, a Revit family file. And if you open up the family, you can then bring in those products into your project. So this command is not isolated for Revit. You can actually use it for any manufacturer. And it's for anything you can think of, doors and windows, but also furniture, light fixtures, casework, any type of material you want to use from a manufacturer. You can visit their website and see if they have Revit families available, and those families can be downloaded into your project, especially appliances and things. Just be careful that sometimes those project families are huge file sizes. And so just make sure you save your project before and take a peek at it afterwards to make sure it's not gotten too big. You don't want Revit slowing down because your project has become massive in size and slowing things down. It all depends on how fast your computer is. Well, going back to this, if I grab any window I have here, like this double hung casement window, I can put a window here, for example. And then when I go to 3D, you'll see there's the window right there. When I click on the window has properties. What can I change in this window? Everything you see here can be changed. For example, the sill is 4 feet tall instead of 3 feet tall. It applies. This information, the trim, you want to see the trim is visible. Uncheck those boxes, and it'll probably hide the trim from the window. See, it begins. These tools and options that you see here are provided by whoever the programmer is that built this window family. That's a bit of work to make this happen, to customize and build your own families. That's more an advanced lesson. But these properties here will affect just this one window, which means that if I'm in the floor plan here and I drag this window over to the right or left and I copy it here, someone's phone beeping. Everybody hear that? Sorry, the phone or the microphone dropped for a second. I'm back. Back in Revit, I copied this window here, and I just want to make a point. So these are copies of the same exact window. This window type called 4860 is also this one. They're exactly the same. They're the same type of window, but this window has its own properties here, and this window has its own properties here, and they don't have to be the same. So if this sill dropped to 3 feet, that's specific for the one I have selected, not the other. These are instance properties. When I click, these properties only apply to whatever's highlighted. But if I click on this window and go to Edit Type, and I change anything here, and let me close this menu here. If I change anything in this menu, you're changing every single model in your project called 48 by 60 by these changes here. So if you were to manipulate this, they're all going to change in your entire project. So you got to be careful when you're working in this menu, you're affecting everything in your entire project called 48 by 60. Therefore, I typically tend to recommend you duplicate the model, call it your own, and then customize it. So you don't accidentally change work that wasn't supposed to be changed. Anything you see in this list can be modified. So if I've got 4 windows and I don't see a 60-inch window, I can make a 60-inch window as long as there's a tool here available that changes the width. So if I go into this menu and say duplicate, and then I go into John's project and I say I want to make a brand new duplicate called the 60 by 60 and make it my window, then here under width I can change this to 5 feet, and now I've got a 5 foot by 5 foot window called this. Hit apply. The window selected is going to change to this type here. Has nothing to do with that window. That's still the old type. But I could change this window to my new style called the JM 60 by 60 inch window. Now they're the same. Now they're bigger. You might not have the luxury of changing these settings in manufacturers' families. Some families don't allow you to change this information. They're restricted. You can only change what you can see here. If you can't see the tool, you can't make the change. So look at your families and determine what it is you can modify in your project and when you can do it. And again, instance properties, if I clap this window, are located here. Anything you see in this menu only affects the one window I selected right now. Back to plan view. I'm going to get rid of this window. Maybe I'll slide this over. Maybe I'll go to 3D. And this is basically what I've started. So that covers the sort of the basics of building walls and windows. Now there's more tools we'll cover next week, but this gives you the hang of basically building walls and tracing AutoCAD drawings. And that was the point I was trying to make in this exercise, is how quickly you can take an AutoCAD file from the outside and bring it into Revit. There was a quick question about witness lines. When you click on an object and it launches its dimension settings, like for example here, the witness line is that little dot right there. See, it says move witness line. That little dot at the end of a temporary dimension can rubber band or jump to different places. It'll jump from left to right to center. So if I want the dimension to the center of the wall, I click on that little dot where it turns dark blue and click, and it goes to the outside, and click again, and it goes to the center right there. It depends on which measurement is. So this line here is called a witness line, and that little button there lets you change the witness line to different locations in case you ever need it for measurement's sake. We'll measure things more accurately in future class, so don't feel like this is the only way to drag things in Revit. There's very, very precise ways of manipulating these tools. We'll go over that in a future class. I want to give you the kind of a cursory overview of all the tools first, and then we can handle a more sophisticated sorry, sophisticated ways of modeling future classes. Little tongue-tied this morning. Okay, so we've drawn windows and doors quickly. We've modified their types. We loaded families. So let's go over some of the other things that apply to walls as well. Another quick question. The tools in Revit are showing the walls here, kind of like AutoCAD. Here, the walls are kind of thin. There is a way to launch line weights in Revit, so you can see kind of a preview how they will print out. Sometimes it's useful to see it in Revit with thicker lines. So up at the upper part of the screen here, next to the this 3D icon, there's like a little command here called TL, or thin lines. If I click on that, notice how my lines get thicker. So right here, so typing TL switches and shows you the line weights. Remember, there was 1 through 16 line weights. They're already set up for all your objects in Revit. Anything you build in Revit is already set up to be appropriate line weights based on standard setup in the US for Revit. They can be changed. But notice here, lines are thickest because they're most important on the drawing. This door swing is thinner. The door swing itself is thinnest. That hierarchy of line weights is already established. You can manipulate those line weights in your office and make them exactly the way you want them. Revit will change the line weights based on scale. So, for example, this is an 1/8 inch scale. If I change this drawing to a 1/4 inch scale, the drawing gets bigger and the line weights get adjusted based on the scale of the drawing. So when you print these out, they are expected to look a certain way vis-a-vis line weights. So we don't go over manipulating line weights. Expect all the line weights in Revit to have their own standard set up. Email me if you want to know exactly how to manipulate those, but it's not exactly an introductory kind of a tool in Revit. Revit already set it up for you. I would recommend in the beginning to use Revit standards and manipulate it once you know how to navigate the software a little better. So TL, there, back to normal, thick. And those are really helpful when you're like here, for example, when I can't really read my drawing as well. Sometimes turning those on really helps either print these out, create a presentation, see your drawings. At some point, you might be done drawing the first floor plan. You might not even want to see the first floor plan. So here under, right there, that's my CAD drawing right there. And that actually is not my CAD drawing, that's my Revit file. Sometimes there's objects on top of objects in Revit. It's really hard to grab what's underneath because it grabs the wrong object. So usually the tab command lets you cycle through different things that are on top of each other. If ever you're trying to grab something and something underneath it, put your mouse where you want, select, and hit tab until the thing you want gets highlighted. Sometimes it's very helpful to select objects using tab. We'll deal with that later as we build a more sophisticated model than what we have currently. So this CAD drawing is selected. I can again query the layers and turn them off. If I want to get rid of the CAD drawing completely, and again by hiding it, I will type VG, imported CAD drawings, simply turn off the box. It turns off the entire CAD drawing. That CAD drawing, every layer is invisible now. That turned off the CAD drawing because I might need it later. So I might want to save it for later. I simply turn it off. I get a clean drawing here. But notice, this is the first floor plan. The 3D view, in fact, every drawing has the CAD drawing. If I go to 3D view, like an elevation view, for example, the CAD drawing is right there. It's laying flat on the ground. Because when you go to 3D, you'll notice the drawing is sitting right there, flat on the ground. Every view is unique. So every one of these views has the CAD drawing inside of it, whether you like it or not. So when you insert a CAD drawing into Revit here, and you pick a drawing to insert into Revit, let's say, for example, my second floor plan. Here's a link. You see this button here says current view only. The Revit file will only show up in that view here if you check that box. You will not see it anywhere else, including the 3D views. So sometimes you might not want to see it in elevations, sections, but you might want to see the CAD drawing in 3D. For example, there. Well, you lost that option if you check that box. So typically what I do is I go into my views and I don't want to see the CAD drawing. I would type VG and simply uncheck this box, and the CAD drawing is gone. Now, there's another method of doing this where I can record these settings and apply them to all my 3D views, but same rules apply. You have to go into a tool like a VG and turn off the CAD drawing, and suddenly it disappears from the bottom of my drawing. This has line weights turned on, right? TL. No line weights, line weights. There's my CAD drawing with its own line weights appearing in my Revit file, which is not good. Which is why I typically type VG and turn off the CAD drawing. And it's gone. West elevation, same problem exists. VG, turn off the CAD drawing. Because typically I like to see my floor plans in my 3D views. That's the only reason why I'm proposing we keep the CAD drawing in all the views. Let's go to the second floor for 1 sec while we have time. Second floor, double click. What's happening? I can see my first floor from my second floor. Why is that? Well, the reason why is this. In my properties here, these properties control what I see on my screen. Information about what I see and how I see it. So, currently, some of these settings are available on the screen. For example, the scale of the drawing here is the same as the scale of drawing here. They're one and the same. Same exact thing. Well, if I scroll down this list, you'll notice a place here called Underlay. Imagine a piece of tracing paper. Underlay lets me see a different floor plan or ceiling plan from the floor I'm on right now. I'm on the first floor. I'm on the second floor here, and this lets me see from the first floor to the second floor, whatever that space is, looking down. So if my eye is between these two levels, looking down, I can see my first floor plan as a piece of tracing paper. That's why it's semi-transparent. I'm looking down, and I'm seeing like an overlay. So if I want to line walls up on the first floor, I can see where to line things up. If I don't want to do that, I can simply make this none, and I see nothing. I'm on the second floor. It's a imaginary piece of paper on the screen right now. I'm drawing on top of it, and I can't see anything else beneath me. So imagine you can be on the first floor of a building and see the roof of the building from the first floor by using the Underlay tool. That's how it works. Let me answer a few questions. There's a delay between when I talk and when I'm typing. It might be an internet speed thing, but in any case, it'll be recorded and you'll be able to see it on YouTube. So don't worry about the delay. Typically, it's handled in YouTube, and that's 5 to 10. That's bizarre. Maybe because the number of people are on the line causing a delay, but you can recover this information in the YouTube video if you have to, and that should not have a delay. At least it didn't the last time I checked. So try back there if there's an issue with the internet connection. I'm on the second floor again. I've double-clicked on the second floor in my project browser, or I can click on the tab on my screen. Again, all these little tabs here are everything I looked at earlier. These are all the views I opened at some point, and they're all available for me to jump into if I need them. I can also click on the little X's to close them, like north. I don't want to see north. I don't want to see south. I don't want to see west. You can hover over each view and hit the X to close those views, or you can always go to the X here, close inactive windows, and close them all. I only want to close my elevations. I want to keep my first and second floor in my 3D view. So usually closing it with the X is the best. So I have a project on the first floor, but I have a 3-story building. So we're good as far as the second level today. I'm going to link a floor plan into my second floor. I'm going to link this drawing, which is the second floor, into this project. I'm going to put it on every single view, so I'm going to leave this alone. I'm going to hit open. It's going to put that floor plan on the second level. Now, I would hope that the CAD drawings were drawn in the exact same place between the floors. 0, 0 on every single CAD drawing should be in the exact same spot. Otherwise, you'll wind up with a floor plan in one place on one floor, and it's 10 feet away on the second level. They won't align. That's a CAD problem. So ideally, if you're bringing in drawings from CAD, you want to make sure that things are lining up properly between levels. And I know these drawings are, so we should be okay. But you can check, and I'll show you how. Open the CAD drawing. So in comes the CAD drawing on the second level as a link. There's the CAD drawing for the second level. VG, go into imported categories. There's the CAD drawing for the second level. Open up the CAD drawing. Let's do the same thing again. Select all the layers. Change their lines here. Click on Override button. Make everything solid. Make everything some obnoxious color. Make everything the lightest line weight. Hit OK. Done. Next, grab all these layers. I'm going to click the first one. Scroll to the bottom. Hold Shift. Click the last one. They're all highlighted. Uncheck them all because I don't need them all. In fact, I don't want to see them all. Too much information. And strategically, I'm going to grab what I need. A wall here, a wall there, maybe some windows. It's called glazing. If you recognize AutoCAD layering standards, some of these make sense. Maybe grab some doors. I don't think I need anything else. For now, it seemed to have grabbed what I needed. Hit Apply. All that work is now available in Revit. Hit OK. Here's my second floor in pink. Did it line up with my first floor? Well, you can check two ways. You can go to 3D. Yep, looks like it's in the right spot. Right? You see how it lines up with the first floor? It looks like these floors, this cantilever is over. That's correct. It meant to do that. But all these walls align. So it looks like that makes sense. First and second level are lining up. Go back to my second floor plan. You can also turn on the first floor. Just go to here, underlay, and let's say between the first and second floor, I'm going to put my eye, and I'm going to look down at the floor. If I look up, I'm looking at the ceiling. I'm going to look at the floor. Hit Apply. And it looks to me like this drawing, see those thick lines right there? That is my AutoCAD drawing from the lower level right here. As I pan the drawing, hold my mouse wheel and pan, I can see that my first level is lining up perfectly. Now, if they don't line up, and that might happen, what do you do if they don't line up? Well, what I suggest you do is you click on the AutoCAD drawing, click on the little pin, excuse me, or use this command here called the unpin command, or UP, and move the drawing and line them up. You can line them up using the Align tool, or AL, so they line up together. For example, unpin it here, or UP, or this button. They all do the same thing. Unpin. Then AL is Align. Go to here with this edge. And you see the drawing just slid over and lined up on that edge, because that's the alignment I wanted. Then what I suggest you do, you click on your CAD drawing, hit Escape, click on your CAD drawing, and pin it again right here, PN, pin it so it's stuck there, so you don't accidentally move it while you're working. And I'm going to undo that, undo, Control-Z, and it's back to normal on the other side. This is lining up, so what I'm going to do is turn off the underlay. I don't want to see the first floor. I'm going to save my project with the little diskette, if anyone knows what that is anymore. I'm going to save the project there. I might even go File, Save As, and save a project here, because I want to look at the Options button here. I just want to double check that this has the right number of backups I want. I want 3 backups. As an example, 3 is more than enough. If this file ever gets corrupted, you can go back to 1, or copy 2, or copy 3, open them, and save them as the same project name. So if I hit save, it saves it. And let me answer a quick question before we're done here. I don't have that delay issue. Might be your connection. Oh, I guess some people have the delay issue, some people don't. In any case, it's probably a matter of internet speed or your location. But we're done for today. Here's my project folder. And let me see. Here are my backups. 0001 and 0002. Those are my backups. So if my project ever failed, I could open that file, number 1 or number 2 or number 3, and bring back this project to life. Revit is complicated enough to crash every now and again. Your files might get corrupted. The only chance you have of recovering your work is to go back to your backups. So save early, save often. Have backups. Don't lose your work. And if you have to, every now and again, maybe just save your file to an archive folder somewhere. Just put a date on it and stick it in the folder and go back to it in case something catastrophic happens and your backups don't work either. So we have backups all the time. Per week, we have backups, just in case something happens. So that's it for today. We're done with class. We ran a little bit over, but I hope you guys enjoyed the first class. For all you newcomers that haven't seen Revit before, expect us to go into in-depth of how to deal with modifications, building walls as the week go forward. And every week we'll learn more and more tools. And by the time we're done, the house we saw in the 3D example is what we're going to recreate in its entirety. And again, bring questions to class or email if you have anything in particular you want to discuss. And I'll be happy to demonstrate those in class. And again, if you did not get my Google Dropbox, send me an email to jrmanfredi@gmail.com, and I'll send you the link to the Google Dropbox to download the project files for this class and get access to all the handouts. Until then, we'll see you next class. But I did have a quick question, I think. Did anybody have a question? Does anybody have a question before we end? Anybody? I hope you can all still hear me. Okay, well, we're done for today. You guys have a great weekend wherever you are. Please send me an email if you have any trouble. Expect the YouTube video to be launched. And send me links. Everyone will get an email from me with a specific link to the YouTube video. That's a private channel just for this class. You'll find a video there. And expect, typically it takes about a day, sometimes sooner, to post it, but you'll all get that video shortly, and you can take a look at this class. Thanks again, and we'll see everybody next week. Bye now.